Welcome to Quantum Quest Conversations. I'm your host, Megan.
And I'm your host, Heidi.
The podcast where curious conversations lead the way into awakening, growth, and infinite discovery. Whether you're just beginning your quest or deep in your awakening, you'll find inspiration through stories, lessons, and personal experience. Settle in, open your heart, and let curiosity lead the way. Hello. Today we are joined by the incredible Charlene, a gifted medium whose spiritual encounters stretch far beyond the veil. From the vivid visions to profound connections with high vibrational beings, Charlene has communicated with ascended masters, archangels, and guides that many of us only read about. Her insights are powerful, her energy is pure, and her stories will expand the way you see the unseen. Welcome, Charlene.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, Megan and Heidi.
We're very grateful you accepted our invitation. And I'm very distracted by your aura. It's like very green aqua color. It's really beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it's very pretty. Well, thank you so much. And I hope you guys enjoy this episode. It's going to be full of stories and really good memories that Charlene is going to share with us.
Charlene, can you tell us the first time that you experienced like a higher being, like an ascended master? What's like the one story that kind of stands out to you?
Okay, so that would be Jesus. So yes, when I first started having experiences, it was like a door just flung open, and all of these different experiences were coming to me. And one of them was, it was in a vision, in a meditation, where Jesus came to me, and he um, he gave me some advice, and I was so excited to see Jesus, because I mean, for me, Jesus is my main guide, and always, I've always loved him since I was a little girl. And I have Catholic background, and when you're 7, you make your first communion, where you're in communion with Christ. And I remember being absolutely in love with Jesus. I used to pretend in my innocent childlike way that I was married to him, and I would sit on his lap.
Aw.
Jesus was always there. Well, when he came to me and he gave me a piece of advice, and first I was in my meditation, I was like trying to like comprehend that this was Jesus. I knew it was Jesus. And I was just like, Jesus, it's you. Are you really here? And he smiled and he winked at me. And I have to say, you know, uh, to get a wink from Jesus, to me, that was like, that's it. I could die now.
Yeah.
I'm ready for heaven. Jesus winked at me. Jesus, so I got so excited. That was my first encounter. And it was anytime I've ever, and it's only been a few times, but anytime I have had him come to me, it's been in a playful and very loving, warm, kind of a way. So that always just pops in my head, the wink from Jesus.
Aw. I would feel like outsiders would hear this story and maybe think it's crazy. I don't know. But you know what's really funny? My son, he's 6, and he tells me all the time that Jesus is his best friend. And he'll tell me how he refers to Jesus like he's just standing right next to him and like talks to him all the time. So I get what you're saying.
He is. He really is. He's
Yeah.
there with him. And that's what's so amazing as children, because we know that when you're a child, you're you're open. The world is everything is magical. Everything is new to you because you're learning, and you're being exposed to things for the first time without having the social, construct put over you. You're free, basically. And so it's just a natural connection that happens. And it's something that I know I've learned. It never goes away. You can always go back and find it and reignite it. It's always there.
Yeah, now that you're saying that, you remind me of a dream that I had growing up. I used to have a lot of very bad depression episodes. And in one of I remember I used to wanted to sleep a lot as a teen, because to me it was like kind of a disassociation from reality. To me, sleeping was better because I could create a world. And I remember one time I had a dream with Jesus, and we were in a meadow, and there was a lot of people in a line, and I all of a sudden he grabbed my hand and people started following. Right, there was a huge line of people walking through the meadow. There was nothing. I don't know where we were walking. I didn't know at the beginning. And then I also have a Catholic background, and all of a sudden people started disappearing, like they were kind of lazy to keep going. It was just too long of a walk. And all of a sudden there were just very few people, and there was like a dock. There was no water there, there was nothing like that, but there was a dock. And all of a sudden he guided me to go up and the steps, and when he pointed to the sky, I saw Mother Mary
Wow.
opening, the Mother Mary that has a lot of stars around, that she's all white.
Yeah.
That's Mother Mary I saw. And she just opened her hands and smiled at me. And it was a very vivid dream. But I've never had Jesus come through um, in meditation or like channeling like you or Megan have. But it was a beautiful dream still.
You know, Heidi, the fact that you brought that up is just, it's no coincidence because one of the visions that I had in a meditation of Jesus coming to me, it was during a time where I was going through a lot and I was, I was struggling a lot. And he came to me and he came towards me and then he turned to the side and put his arms out and brought me to his mother.
Wow.
And she went like this and put her hands out and shined like she was shining light into my heart. And I mean, the idea that Jesus brought me to his mother, isn't that amazing? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm getting chills hearing this story. Can you tell us about other encounters that you've had? Have you encountered any angels or archangels?
okay, well, I could tell you about, okay, angels. Yes to both. I can tell you about one of my favorite angel stories is again when I was first in my awakening a lot. You're processing a lot, and there was an event that was traumatic, and so that's when we kind of break open. So there was a lot of struggling, and I went into meditation because one of the things that I've always done is meditate. That opened up everything. I went into a meditation in the middle of the day and just trying to process everything that was going on. And when I slipped into that state, I found myself walking in like a brook or a stream, and I was walking upstream. So the water was kind of trickling down the rocks, and it was, I was walking upstream, and the rocks were slippery, and I didn't have my footing. And all of a sudden, I looked, and on each side of me, there was an angel that each one had their arm, held my arms. So I had an angel on my left and an angel on my right. And they walked me and guided me through that water to the bank, to the river bank. And that was so profound to me. And what I do is, I mean, when I encounter these beings, and I love it. And I love them so much. And to me, it's magical. So it's like, I want to know your name. I want to know, I want to know everything about you. I never want you to leave.
Yeah.
Help me forever. So with these two angels, the way they appeared to me was, it's kind of a vague, anyone who's had a vision, it's in your mind's eye. It's kind of like a vague, very tall, light beings. Like they didn't, I couldn't see facial features or anything, but they were each on the side of me. They were large. And so after that experience, besides feeling so supported, and it gave me peace. I every time I would do my cardio dancing that I did for exercise, I'm like the kooky the kooky person who puts it on the TV, and I'm doing my cardio with them. It's got to be fun, and it has to have
Yeah.
music. So I always would do my cardio with these two angels. So I would call them in, and I would put one on my left and one on my right. And then I would do the moves, and they do the moves with me. So I had these big angels, and we would be doing, our cardio together. And I would tell myself, okay, this is my imagination. I'm just like inviting them in and putting them here, and here they are, and this is how they look. I don't know why they look like that, but that's how they had wings. They had wings. But here they are. And so now I have to name them. So I named them Honey and Sweetie because there was no like gender,
Yeah. Mhm.
And so I carry around with me, these two angels, Honey and Sweetie. So, that's just it's like we're trying to figure out where is the line between, are they really here with us, or is this our imagination or wishful thinking? I have learned I don't try and distinguish anymore. If I feel it and I want it and it gives me joy, it's real.
Yeah.
So, the angels, but the angels that came in that vision, that was truly profound. I mean, that helped me so much. Just wow.
Charlene, would you like to share with our listeners about when and how was your spiritual awakening? And if it comes from generations, your abilities, or is it isolated case in your family?
Yeah, so that's something that I look back on, to see, wow, well, I know my awakening, the awakening where literally, the curtain lifted and I was like, what? The world really is a fairy tale. Oh my gosh. That happened almost 6 years ago. So I lived a beautiful, happy life, and with a big Catholic Italian family and loving parents and siblings and everything. I was happy. I was just happy. But I know that it's a generational thing. It's something that has always been in me, and it's something that I just would not address. So it would happen, and things would happen. I would sense energies, in certain places in the house, or if I was out somewhere, oh goodness, you sense energies. I had a lot of premonition type events that happened, and I would predict things, and things would happen to me. I was always fascinated and drawn to ghost stories and spirits. I used to read books about, as a little girl, about little girl ghosts, they would come, and but I always felt that pull. And as a teenager, um I knew that I had these capabilities. I had a few experiences that were just, undeniable, of energy and knowing, but it was not accepted. It was not accepted by my peers, and it was not accepted by my family in the sense that there was fear. So I think what happened was my mom and my grandmother, and actually from both sides of my family, were very sensitive. They knew stuff. I mean, I know that they were getting things, but they did not speak of it. And my mom, she was very spiritual and beautiful. She was an angel, but she had fear. Yeah, and I'm not sure where the fear came in, but I think that witnessing her fear of something that was unseen and not understood and told that it was something to fear, witnessing that instilled a fear in me. So I carried this fear with me all the way through my adult life, even when I had, raising my children. And whenever I would feel something, I would think in my head, oh no, you have to go away. I'd be like, Jesus, protect me, make it leave because I don't want to open. You ready for this? Open the portal for the devil. It's so like, but I really thought, because that's what mom thought, is that if you tap into this stuff, not only good things could be there, but bad things that could hurt you. But almost 6 years ago, I had an experience that just eliminated that fear completely, just like that. And I realized that what goes on in the realm and around us, it is all we are surrounded by love. It's all about love. And there's nothing to fear. There's nothing to fear. If we ask for protection or we ask for courage or, we just say, I don't want to deal with negative energy. I don't feel strong enough right now. Please keep it outside of my bubble. Then we're safe.
Right.
And, I mean, some people might not mind the challenge of, trying to dip into that and figure stuff out, but that was never me. I'm just like, oh no, you are only going to have love around you. But once the fear was dropped, everything opened up and
Yeah.
I was open to it. And not only was I open, I was in awe. I was in awe of it. And, it's like they say, once your eyes are open, they can never be closed, and I embraced the experiences that were coming, although they seem to be kind of random and very, diverse. Um, yeah, I just started opening up to it. And it's like, well, this is it. I don't know why it happened when it did, but I'm here.
Yeah. So I have a million questions, but okay. So how did you get into the mediumship side of this?
Okay, so the mediumship actually, for me, started with automatic writing.
Okay.
And
Sorry,
yeah,
funny that you say that. Can you explain to our audience what automatic writing is? Because I just had a lady come up to me. We were chatting yesterday, and she was telling me what you're about to explain, but like how she started to write, and she was like asking me for advice or what it meant, and I was like, look up what automatic writing is. I'm like, but so yeah, a lot of people don't know. So can you explain it to us?
yeah. So, I mean, in my own words, automatic writing is to me, I used to call it free writing. So, I consciously made an effort to do this. I was taught by another medium. It's like a psychic exercise or a way of opening up. And so I was like, yeah, let's do this, right? So what you do is you just in the way I started was I would just have the pen and the paper and just try and blank my mind. And then whatever thoughts came into my mind, just write it down and just like let the pen move and don't think about what you're writing. So it's hard. It takes a little practice because when you start writing things, you're just start automatically going, oh no, oh no, oh no, what? So I started with automatic writing. Um, or what I called free writing at the time. And I would do it once a day. So I would meditate and then I would just do it like when I felt like it. And what started happening was the things that I was writing, it was kind of like a kaleidoscope of words, which drove me crazy. But I kept at it, like just write it, don't think about it. and all these different words and phrases. And then I would start to get sentences and more detailed, things that I was writing that were just popping in my head. And I would look at it, and most of it did not make sense. However, what I did was anything that maybe popped out, I would go and I would do a little research, or, if it was about someone I knew, I would kind of probe a little and see if what I wrote had any significance. And I started finding that I was writing things that was happening to other people. I started writing I actually started getting messages from my cousin, my older cousin who had just passed. And I'm very close with my cousin and his siblings. And he was always a jokester, So I started writing, and then I would say, okay, I would think of someone and then just let it come. So I thought of his sister, who's still here, thinking of her, and I'm just going to see what comes. And then all of a sudden, I heard my mind, "Hi, Shar," and
Oh,
so I'm like, "Oh!" So I'm writing it, and then it's like, and and then he would start telling me, giving me messages for his sister and his other siblings.
wow.
Well, I would text her immediately because I have a set of beautiful cousins and relatives on the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast, and they're open to this and they love it, and so they're like my safe people. Because as if anyone does this knows, you have to kind of be protective of who you share it with. But I would text her and, like, he came to me and this is a message, and she would go through. I would take pictures of what I wrote and send it to her, and she went through and she validated all of the things that were actually happening, that validated that he was there watching and he was
Wow.
giving messages. So I did a lot of that. Other things came through, things that were predictive in nature, about, what's going to happen in the future. So every couple of months, I would go back and I would just skim through those journals with a highlighter, and I would see what popped now that didn't before. But the automatic writing is just let whatever pops into your head, write it down and don't think about it. Doesn't have to make sense. You can look at it later, and it's okay. It's just a way of kind of channeling, opening yourself up and opening that channel for things to come through and to start coming through. And I believe that if the more you do it, the better, the more it opens up and the better you are at actually getting messages. So that started, that started the mediumship, because there's my cousin,
Yeah.
and he was a jokester. So, I mean, we had so much fun with it. So I have all these like happy associations with mediumship.
Hmm.
And, I just couldn't wait to learn more. Like, what else can we do?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are afraid of these things, but the reality is when you said, you're safe people, because there's always going to be people that are going to judge us or label us or think, and I kind of get it, just because it used to be associated with, darkness or, all these things that were on the hush. But the reality is mediumship, there's a difference. And because I think for years and years and years, I really didn't say anything, or I stopped myself from even, like you said, just to keep it off, or just like you, because I was afraid because of what the Bible says. And then um, I was looking, and Deuteronomy, it's eight. Is that how you pronounce it? If not, please don't kill me. 18:10 in the Bible says about not summoning spirits, but there is a difference between summoning spirits and just being a medium. Because to me, the way I understand it now, the way that I am not afraid anymore, it's because I'm not summoning anything. I'm just aware that they are there. It's like if I am at the supermarket, I'm aware there's more people there. but I'm not summoning everybody. Like, it's not, it's just an awareness. And
Right.
then about the divination, I also understood then that, and I think I wanted to share it with you so that maybe, I mean, we don't have to explain ourselves, but sometimes it is good to have an explanation in our head, not to feel judged. And so if someone comes to us, and what I came to understand is there's one difference in between divination and just seeking advice or giving guidance according to what you see. Because at the end, we always have the freedom of choice, right? And so I just wanted to share that with you because I know I feel the scarlet letter. I used to feel the scarlet letter too until I said no more. And that I have to say I am grateful to Megan because she's like my shovel. She's always helping me. And she then was surprised because one day I just posted something on Facebook saying who I truly was and pretty much saying, this is who I am, even love me or drop me, but I'm not doing anything wrong because I really am not. If something I want to help, you know. Um, and so it's a difficult journey,
Mhm.
but it's one that's worth it. And so I'm sorry if I deviated a little bit about the automatic writing. I just wanted to share that with you because I think that when we understand that these are gifts, like the Bible says too, that the Spirit gives us different gifts to everybody, and that's what we have. We don't have to be in the darkness, in the shadows, because these are gifts that God Himself has allowed us to have. And pretty much everybody has them. It's just majority of people, they're just not aware or are afraid of it. So
Yeah.
sorry for the deviation.
No, that is so spot on. I mean, I was just feeling that too. How, why is it so hard to come and sit here and talk about this? Right. And so we all know, I mean, Megan and Heidi and I know that we have this purpose and we don't know why, right? You probably feel the same way. It's like, oh my gosh, but I can't stop doing this. I just know that I'm supposed to be doing this, but it is so hard because you really have to make yourself vulnerable and you really have to deal with being okay with the people who don't accept it, and knowing that your job is to put out whatever it is that you're doing, but to do it in a way that is going to attract the people who need it. It doesn't matter. The ones who don't need it, it doesn't matter if they agree or not. As long as you're doing it and you're opening up and you're showing your light and you're showing it to the people like a beacon, the ones who need it, they will come. But it's terrifying. And I'm so glad that you guys are doing it too. And I just mean like talking about it because it's scary. Nobody wants that judgment. Nobody
No,
wants
not
to
at
be
all.
rejected.
Remember that in the Bible, it also says who has a light and puts it under the bed. Something,
Mm,
right? And I think that happens to us because of the fear of people who doesn't understand. But that's why it's not that we call them ourselves, but there's that name, light workers, because that's what it is. We work with the light, not with the shadows, not with the fear, not, we try to keep our selves in a high vibration state. That does not mean perfection because it's not. We're always struggling and trying to redirect our lives and keep the line, but it's not nothing of darkness or anything like that. What do you think, Megan?
I'm just sitting here very humbled and very blessed that that I did branch out and start this podcast with you because we are giving people, platform to speak their voice and to come out here and, talk about this, kind of taboo topics. And it's really funny how you ladies were talking, like, even though I come across like this big, bad, bold person, I'm not afraid. I'll go out there and say whatever. No, the fear is there that I'm going to be judged, and honestly being judged by the people that I'm closest to. That's what is, I think, part that is really scary, is to put ourselves out there, and then the people that we're closest with, they don't understand. And so I tell my husband all the time, he thinks that it's easy for me to just, he's always like, you always have an opinion about something. And I'm like, believe me, some days I wish I could just shut this mouth and not say anything. But God did bless me, with a voice and to use it and to speak up. And it is just as scary for me as it is for everybody else. But like Charlene said, we have a calling and a purpose, and we don't know where it's going, and we're just kind of following that light, and following the guidance and just seeing where it leads us. So I'm just grateful to share this journey with both you ladies and to be able to talk about it freely today. Let's get back on track about Charlene. Charlene, I did, what I want you to share with the audience, I think it is amazing, is you touched on it briefly already about just your imagination. And that was so cool how you just kind of stood your ground of like, It doesn't even matter. My imagination, real, whatever. Like, this is what I see. This is what I believe. This is what I'm going to, keep doing. But what I love is you have told me before about like your kind of walking meditations, and like explain to the audience, because you have a whole tribe that walks with you on your meditations.
Yes, I do. And so walking meditation, I think I should explain like what that is for me. A walking meditation for me is something that I do based on the teachings of Dr. Joe Dispenza. I'm an advanced student of his work, and so blessed that spirit guided me to that teacher and that community. And the walking meditation is, and I deviate a little bit from his format, but he teaches it. And it's what it is when you go into a meditative state, you're shutting out all of the outside stimuli, right? And so you're blocking it all out so that you can, you're not having any input into those five senses, so that no distraction, you're going in. Now you're going into your heart, the field, whatever you call that space where you're connecting with the higher realms, because we are connected to the higher realms. So it's just kind of going in and getting in there and connecting with them. And when you're in a meditation, you are in a state where this is allowed to happen, and when you're in that state, you experience bliss, and joy. You're in a higher vibration when you're there. And a walking meditation is a practice where we walk with a guided meditation, and the point is to get into that state of connection and that higher level of connection, and stay there with your eyes open and while you're walking, so that you can learn how to walk and live in that higher state. And it's very hard, to do. It takes a lot of practice, but it's so beautiful. So I go and I kind of do my own thing when I'm walking, um, sometimes, well, they last like an hour or an hour and a half, the ones that I do. And I listen to them and I'm in state and I'm walking and I'm in bliss. And then I get excited. So to me, what I need to do an activity, I love movement and I don't want to get bored, and I'm walking in a beautiful place. I always pick a, specific area that has like natural beauty and less distractions. And while I'm walking, I like to kind of play around with it, right? So I'll like, okay, I'm not here by myself, right? I don't want to be alone. So who's with me? Okay, first of all, Honey and Sweetie are walking with me, right? They're always there. And then I just kind of go, and I now know that this is more my intuition picking up who really is there with me. Now that I've gone through the mediumship, I realize, okay, yeah. So Jesus walks with me. I have a set of guides that walk with me, and I thought I was putting them with me. I now know that they're there.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I do, because I have in the past, I love children, obviously who doesn't, I taught children, I love children. I love seeing the world through their eyes. And I've had some children in spirit come to me.
Mm.
And so when I walk, I'm like, okay, so so now I know I have my guides all around me. Honey and Sweetie are here. So I think I usually put this whole row of little children walking in front of me. And so I'm visualizing all of this. And I'm like, okay, so I see, one's on a tricycle and there's one pulling a wagon with another kid in there and they're skipping and they're dancing and all these little children, angels, they're with me, but they walk in front of me, so I have the baby angels in front of me and I'm surrounded, and so I kind of flourish, and I open up. One of the things that I started to do, and I know that this was a guided thing from spirit, is I've always looked up, looking up at the trees, up at the sky, the clouds. Oh, I'm so pulled up. I started to look down, and now while I'm walking, my perspective kind of zooms out and
Mhm.
I'm seeing the trees and the landscape, but I'm not just seeing the trees above the ground. I'm seeing all the root systems and everything that's under the ground that's living. All the living things that are under there, and I'm seeing it connected, and then I tell, I'll do things like, okay, I'm going to feel, I imagine that as I take a step, my light goes, and it kind of like spreads out. And what do they call that? Shimmer the field, like that's my light, so I do all these playful things. And honestly, it brings me to so much happiness, and it makes it fun. So yeah, so I like to use my imagination when I do it, and why not?
Exactly. I
No,
just had to tell you, I don't know about you, Heidi, but hearing her explain all that, I feel like I just went on a guided meditation. My whole body is like lit up as if I'm about to get in the power and do a reading.
Was imagining everything she was saying. It was beautiful.
oh, isn't it beautiful? Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, those
So,
are, I love
um,
it. I mean, it's the child in me. I've always been this way. I mean, ask my grown kids, ask everybody in my family. I've always been this way. They can't put a lid on me. It's like, no, I refuse to not be happy. I'm sorry. If I want to go and swing on that swing, you do not judge me. I'm going to swing on the swing because it's fun.
you understood. Because I am also I used to teach little children, and like you said, I just love children so much. There's nothing, you can't be closer than God than near a child. It's just such a beautiful experience. But what you were saying about the meditation, I really liked, because somehow in my short span or of knowledge, right? Because I'm continuously learning. But I thought the meditation, I know you can, be meditating when you're cleaning and washing the dishes and stuff, but what you were saying, it's a lot more deeper, because the way I meditate is with my eyes closed, and and a face mask with headphones, that so that I am in the full state, and I do go deep, like you were mentioning. But then you explain that you do the same thing, but with your eyes open. And that made me think that has to be to allow yourself to be able to access that state much quicker during the day, right? And so I'm like, that will allow you just instantly to change from one state, let's say you're bothered, to calmness, because you're used to doing it away, like you're aware when you meditate, but this is like fully aware, right? You can be working, you can.
And being out in public. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, aren't you outside, or you're not in your just house?
I am. And I usually will take paths or go, to places where there's not a lot of people around, and especially not traffic. But I have to say that there are times, when people are going to see this crazy woman walking with this big grin on her face, or she's laughing, and, it's like, I don't care. Because the walking meditations that I do, that I learned from Dr. Joe, like I said, I kind of modify it to my own way. And when, if you become a student of his, and, you learn how he teaches it, there's so much more, to the learning of it. When you are in, there's parts of the walking meditation where, when you're getting into state where you're standing still. So I walk for the whole thing. And, that's just me. And I got myself used to getting myself in state while I'm walking with my eyes open. And I always ask for, like, okay, keep me safe. Keep me safe. And I'm aware, I'm not going to be in some place where I'm going to step into the street. I'm aware of it. But oh my gosh, it's so powerful, because when you create and act and live from that higher place, that higher state where you're connected, what you produce is higher level, so it's like, well, I want to actually create from, that higher level, because that's going to be all the more, you know beautiful what the results are from doing that, and from living. And you look at people differently, you look at everything differently, when you kind of open your eyes, and you connect with your eyes open. Now, I think Suzanne talks about that. Suzanne Giesman, one of the teachers that I think the three of us probably have in common,
Yeah.
Mhm.
mediumship teacher, she touches on that a little bit about, how to stop yourself in the daytime when you need to kind of get in more in a lot, get back in alignment, take your breath. And you can do that where you connect, and you can connect and then continue, and it kind of gets you in alignment. So, I mean, it's the thing. I love it. I'm not perfect at it by any means, but I'm blessed that I have this imagination, and I don't care what people think as much about my imagination. It's always been a part of me. And so I just have fun with it.
That's
amazing.
very, very interesting. You were going to ask something.
Another encounter that stands out to you of, maybe an ascended master, or so I actually have a question. The word, like, divine master and ascended master, are they like one and the same, or are they different? Do you know
So
that?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I could give you like a set definition of that. I know what I've learned and what I understand and what I feel to be true, for me. And I know that I feel, that there are different, not levels, but different realms, different, I think that there's spirit that have been around longer and are a little more ascended in the evolution of the soul, and who may have incarnated on this earth many, many, many times, and they've gained a lot of, a lot of knowledge and wisdom. And so now they're in a place where part of their soul mission is to help us, and, and help us to ascend as well. So I have experienced different like levels, or different
I like how you said realms. I feel like that
realms.
resonates with me too, of
Yeah, because
like,
there's like, there's, and you'll get different definitions and explanations from different people. But for me, from my understanding, what I feel is happening is that there's an angelic realm, and then there's an archangel realm who is even a little bit higher, more evolved, and then there's the divine masters, who have been around for eons and eons. And I personally, I also, I know that there are cosmic beings and cosmic family, and that there's all kinds. It's infinite.
yeah.
There's no limit to the different types of energies, but all of it is all a part of the one source of light and love. They're just like aspects of that source,
Hmm.
and I heard a quote actually came from Sanaya, Suzanne Gieseman's, like her daily message. And in the end of it, these words just struck me. I'm not sure if it was Suzanne. I may be wrong on that. The words were, "You cannot separate a ray of light from its source." So if we're all rays of light, we're all connected to this. You can't separate a ray of light from its source.
Right.
So that's how I picture it. It's just that infinite source of pulsing love that just is. And all of these things are aspects of it, and ways for us to evolve and develop and come back into that source. But divine masters, pretty divine. Like
Yeah, divine ascended master, right?
ascended, yeah, divine ascended masters. Yeah, I've had some experiences with them, and I have some guides that are ascended masters, as we all probably do here. And I've had the
Come
privilege.
on, you got to drop names. You
All
can't
right,
just like,
I'm dropping names, because the first name I'm going to drop is my beloved. So Um, the divine master that I simply adore is Kutumi. So he's an ascended master. I don't know if anyone's heard of him. His essence is, from what I know. Now, I'm not saying I'm not writing the book on this, but this is what I get. Kutumi has a playful spirit, like he's rascally, and I just that about him. And I just resonate with him. And I looked him up. I know that he's one of my masters. I was given his name, and I looked him up, right away. Divine Kutumi. Who's Kutumi? I had never heard of Kutumi. And I knew instantly he's here. And he's a divine master who has incarnated as Saint Francis of Assisi. I think Beethoven, or one of the classical music masters, um, uh, Pythagoras, right? So there's all these different aspects of this, this master that
yeah.
have incarnated. And I feel that when you resonate with a certain aspect of a master, that they feed, like it like feeds into it. Like if I were Kutumi, this is what I think. If I'm Kutumi and I'm like, okay, my essence is going off into, I'm going to create this person and this and this and this, and I'm going to put my love of animals that channel into you and your mathematical abilities. And, so, and I feel like it gives us a connection that we're aspects of that. And when I connected with him, I was honored to have a friend who channeled, and she channeled like everyone, and so Katumi came through all the time. He was always there. And I simply adore him. I created a song for him that I sing to him all the time. And it's a comfort to me, and I know that you have guides who are with you your whole life. You have some that come and go depending on what your lesson is, and you have your guardian angel who's just always there. And so Kutumi is one of my main guides, and I told him he cannot leave me. So he's not going anywhere. But I have a couple stories. Probably I've talked too much and used up already too much time, but I did have an I had two, but I could save one for later. I had an experience where I know that Master Kutumi, incarnated into a man, into a person here to encounter me. And I had spent the morning talking to him, and and telling him how much I love him, and playful and teasing and everything. And I just felt this enormous surge of love just like coursing through my body for Kutumi, right? And I'm like, Kutumi, I love you. So I go to the beach. I'm doing this nice little walk by myself on the beach, and I'm picking up all these neat little like beach rocks and things because I'm attracted to that. And I was picking these little pieces up. I was like a child. And I'm like, oh, this is so cool. It's got these little shells embedded in it. And as I'm walking, I look up. There was no one else on the beach. And I look up and I see a man's figure standing maybe 50 feet ahead of me on the shoreline. And he had on this like billowy kind of not a robe, but it was like a billowy garb, right? And the colors were muted, and it's like it's not something that I've ever seen, So this was like this different kind of clothing, but there he was, and it was like this like tunic with pants underneath it, and he was there, and I looked up and I saw him, and I felt this like connection to this man, this poor guy, he's standing on the beach. But I continued on my walk, and I was thinking and all of this. And as I approached him, he raised his hand up like this. He was there. And I was close enough to see his face, his facial features, and his eyes they were like blurry. I'm like, I can't explain it. It was like they weren't clear. They were just it was different. And I looked at him, and he said, what do you have there? And I just walked right over to him like a kid, to to the Pied Piper. And I walked over, and I'm like, I have these rocks. And I'm showing him, I don't know who this guy is, right? My mind is saying it's just a nice man, but part of me knows there's something more. I'm like, I have these rocks, and you usually pick up shells, but I think this is so nice. And he looked at him, and he's like, oh yeah, those are nice. And so I was just like, ugh, and I walked away, and I walked a couple of feet, and I turned around. He was gone. And
Wow.
I knew, and there's no way he could have made it all the way to, like the exit of the beach. I'm like, that was good to me. I know that was him. And he came to me just to kind of touch with me in the human, in a human form. And that meant so much to me, and I know. And my mind wants to say, you're crazy. You're crazy. It was just some poor guy. And I'm like, no, it was him. I know I met him.
And
So
yeah,
it's
and I
super.
believe it. And that's what I think people that aren't tapped into this ability or know, like, there is a knowing. Like sometimes I can't explain it, but we know. Like just trust us. We know. But again, as you're telling that story, my whole body is lighting up again of just I feel like I'm a like a lie detector test. My body will respond and I get my chills from head to toe anytime. Like a
It's a really
spiritual
good skill
story.
to have, especially when you're raising children.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just so magical, and I'm just so in awe, and I never want to not be in awe, I never want to be like taking it for granted. I want it to be always filling me with, this feeling.
Charlene, is there an advice that you would like to tell anyone that feels as if they feel something, they know things, or but they hide from it, or they wanna put it off, or they are afraid of it? What advice would you tell them, or would you give them?
Well, I think that the very first thing that I would say is to make the time to sit, and I mean you can meditate or you can just take 5 minutes, but start making the time to shut off the outside world and just sit there. You don't have to do anything. Let your mind ramble, but just take the time to start tuning out what's going on around you and tuning into that space inside of you, because that's where you find the understanding and the courage and the knowing. That's where you find the answers. And when you're tuned in there, there's no fear. There's no fear. So to me, we have to kind of stop all of this external stuff that's pounding on us every day, and our minds are swirling with all of this, and 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 find the time. And there's no perfect way to do it because it's hard, and you can't always do it, but you just keep trying and you get in there, get into that space inside of you where the outside world is shut off. That's when everything is gonna make sense for you, because that's your source. That's your soul.
That was beautiful. We appreciate it. We appreciate your time, you being here, showing up for all our listeners, for all these people that might, you know, want to hear not only a story, but, the kindness of your heart shining through your words.
To add, Charlene, thank you for being so brave and coming with your genuine self. And really, you're an inspiration for a lot of people that just how Heidi was asking you to give advice to people that are probably shy away from this. They probably have these abilities and they shy away. So thank you for sharing your voice. I know it's going to help a lot of people.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being part of today's Quantum Quest. We hope this conversation awakens something new within you, a spark, a question, a remembering. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, keep exploring with an open mind and an open heart. Bye for now.